Yeah, no, I've seen a bit of like him on Theo Vaughn, and that was not good.
Jordan Peterson.
And then I've seen him talk to.
Why wasn't it good on Theo?
Just rambly.
Do they seem like
a
good psychological, intellectual matchup?
100% they do.
It's not necessarily about who's interviewing him. It's like watching him try and be him, right?
Yeah.
Like, or be to his standard.
That's hard. He set such a high bar.
Jordan Peterson trying to behave like Jordan Peterson.
But it's like once you're thought of one way, then if you're not exactly that way, then you're disappointing people.
Well, he's been deified, right?
Yeah.
He's now everyone's ideal version of him.
And the problem with once that's happened is there's no way you can live up to even yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's almost no point in bothering.
Well, the attention on the topics that he was trying to draw from, I feel like there's like a group of people that seems to kind of be hung into those, like the Weinsteins and that kind of group.
The intellectual dark web.
Yeah. And I feel like a majority of people have kind of gone like, all right, next news cycle.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't seem to have the same kind of like attention span now.
People have lost interest.
Yeah.
But, staying relevant is not easy.
No.
Like, people don't understand how hard it is to stay relevant. I understand how hard it is to stay relevant. It's my whole life is trying to stay relevant to some extent.
How long has Jordan Peterson been on the scene? Like, how long has he been big?
4 years.
He's only been big for 4 years. I think a lot longer.
He's been around for a long time, but he hit his stride in 2017, I think.
Really?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's about when that book came out.
But I feel like he's been big for a lot longer than that. I had friends showing him to me back like 4 or 5
He's done
years
lectures
ago.
and stuff forever.
Yeah, when you knew about his lecture series, whoever found out about those, that was like 2010.
Yeah, he's had stuff on YouTube for a long time.
So I'm just saying the public landscape, the clickbait media landscape has changed a lot since he's come on the scene.
Yeah.
And people are concerned about different things, and
he's more importantly, changed it.
Their attention, he changed it as well.
Yeah.
But our attention span has changed.
Yeah.
Right? And he's now taken some time off, and he's coming back into that sphere on a different playing field than he's used to.
I worry for attention span in general. Like, it's basically gone. There's like none. Like, me and Sarah were having a talk this morning, and she was telling me she used to have time for all these different things. And I said to her, I'm like, you still have time. It's just we have these.
Yeah. Our time is just chewed up by a bunch of other crap.
Yeah. We have these. And how much time do we have? And they're always around us. Even if we're not on them, they're around us. They're in our mental sphere.
Yeah.
How many times do we not commit to an actual plan because we're like, wait, there might be some other BS come up on my phone that I might have to deal with, Thursday night, so I can't commit to that.
It's a constant mental stressor, even if you're not scrolling. It's just in your mind's eye all the time.
So, do you think there's a point of fatigue that gets reached and then people just give up on it?
Well, I'm there in a way, but maybe for my own reasons.
Where
I really can't. I can't. The last few days, I've just been like so distant from all of it. Like everything. I'm basically auto posting. And then I'm just gone. And if I reply to the comments, it's like the least amount of words that can contribute as a answer.
Just some sort of emoji.
I just can't even
emoji and out.
And then I feel like the app even picks up on it too, where it's like it can almost sense that you're not in. Because you start getting less.
On the topic of giving up on social media, I have a meeting today at 4 with the social media manager.
With Mr. Social Media?
Not with Mr. Social Media. With an intermediary between me and Mr. Social Media.
Man, that'd be like, okay, so let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Because I'm in full support of that.
Yeah.
Even though it sucks that we have to do that.
Yeah. Well, it's a matter of price point right now. Because like if it's going to cost me $500 to maintain my online presence, well, screw it. I'll just keep doing it with coffee in the morning. But if it's $200-$300 for someone to do
for how much a month?
Yeah. $200 a month for someone to just do this for me, then screw it. That's one less thing for me to deal with on my plate. I've got the stock market. I've got people in my life. I've got.
What does this guy run? Do you know what he does? Like what else?
Yeah.
Does he
So
run?
actually, I got hooked up with her through a friend of mine who's a photographer, and her like Instagram has been incredible the past year or so, right? Like she's got she's found her niche. She's got a like very specific style to all of her posts and all of her content. She's really pushing the edge with a lot of things. And then I met up with her at a friend's birthday party a couple weeks ago, and she was telling me, some of her stories, and turns out she hasn't posted anything on Instagram in months now because she's got this chick who's just trading social media management for boudoir photography. So sweet. So I asked for her girl's number, and I'm gonna try to figure something out.
Yeah, I like in our industry, it becomes invaluable.
Yeah,
Because
well,
see people
you just
like,
have to have it.
Yeah, like, do you follow Robert Foe?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, like his Instagram game is crazy.
Yeah,
And he's an old guy.
yep.
He's in his 60s, he's been tattooing for 30 years. And his Instagram game is crushing it because he has someone doing it.
That's right.
And they're
Well, it's a job.
yeah, it's legit.
It's a job.
Legit, we created an industry.
Yeah.
Well,
Like I
not
feel
we,
like it's a
but
second job for me.
It is.
Like, and sometimes it's my first job.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I can always tell right away what's going to happen when I post.
Yeah.
And sometimes the day at work just doesn't look good to me. Hasn't looked good to me in a while. And it's not because it's not working either. Like, it's just like, I need a break from it, but it's the kind of thing that you can't take a break from, or you come back to nothing.
No, maybe this is Jordan Peterson to talk now.
Because the Instagram itself doesn't make any money, and
What do you mean?
like the Instagram itself, especially in your case.
Oh, someone's Instagram. Got it. Sorry, I thought well, no, Instagram's making money.
Oh, yeah, they make money.
They're doing just fine.
No, like our individual accounts.
What Instagram is it's like, it's not about, I'm not making money. It's potential. It's always potential.
Yeah.
There's nothing but potential. It creates endless possibilities.
But it itself doesn't make the money
No.
unless you're hustling super hard and have some like angle to branch off of the standard course. But it still takes all of that work. It's still a part-time freaking
Oh,
job.
at least a part-time job.
I mean, not for me. Mine's again
Yeah.
still like half an hour a day.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'm not working that hard right now, but
Yeah.
it shows. And people understand, even if they don't understand on a conscious level.
yeah,
There's like a weird energy that's put out there that I'm not really in this right now. It's very obvious. I can feel it coming off of me, and then when I see the return, it's meeting me where it's
Well,
like,
that would be probably for everybody.
yeah,
Like, if we hate doing it, if we hate doing this thing that is social media, that's probably very apparent.
yeah.
what I
But
mean?
what I always say is, it's like you've got a big dumb elephant in your backyard, and you just got to keep feeding this stupid thing because it's gonna break through your wall and eat through your cabinets if you don't. You know what I mean? Like it
don't.
has to be fed. Well, no, you don't understand, but I know I've used that metaphor with other influencer type people, and they completely understand what I mean. And this is why you have burnout in this landscape.
Well, it's like
because
any job, right?
people just get tired of caring about it, and if you don't care about it, it won't grow.
Well, so here's a question, because I like thinking about things from like a industry or management kind of thing, and so like let's talk about social media from encouragement or a demotivator and a motivator.
Yeah.
So
For
demotivator
who?
would be
the account holder.
Yeah.
Or okay, yeah.
yeah. So for the account holder, for you, there's a lot of demotivating factors, right? Like the requirement of your attention,
Yeah.
like the physical demand that you feel from those engaging with you. And so what would be a motivator for it?
A motivator is everything else.
What
This
like specifically?
podcast
Yeah, sure.
couldn't have happened if I never created Remy.
Well, it could have, but it probably would have been
It
real
would have
slow.
been what? Yeah, but
Slower.
always what you're thinking when you're doing this is not, oh, this is the end game. I'm just going to post pictures and write captions and have comments.
Yeah.
It's like you just keep growing, and eventually that 100,000 becomes 1,000,000, and then all of your possibilities get bigger incrementally with it. Like you don't just stop. So like if this is the scope
So the
now,
main motivator for you is possibilities.
main motivator is possibilities. Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
And also, not just possibilities, but more and more I'm seeing what's happening even at my own job, where we have less people working than ever. In we've never had a smaller schedule, and we're not making it any bigger. And then I think about that happening in multiple other workspaces too.
Yep,
for sure.
And I just
Countless
see
other
all
workspaces.
around me like this. What we're doing now isn't going to last. We're not going to have people going to jobs forever. It's just not going to be. Not like this. Not like we are now. We're going to have maybe down from 10 people to 2 people. You know what I mean? And so where are those people going? Well, we're all living online. It's more likely that new industry develops online. And how long before those things start being paid? And if you're already on that scene, you've got a leg up, right? You've got a leg up in the internet world that we're living in. And I don't even really like the fact. It's just kind of like a reluctant admittance to what I see
wise.
happening.
Well, here we are.
Yeah,
That's
that's
wise.
exactly
I'm not gonna
it.
deny it.
It's not like I would prefer this reality. I
That's-
have fond memories of even 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well,
Where
that's like a
this-
survivalist mentality.
Yeah.
You're just acknowledging
Smell
the
the
situation
roses.
around you
Yeah,
and
yeah.
moving on accordingly.
This is not what I want, but it's what we have to do.
Yeah, like that nostalgia part of your brain kicks in and just like desires that simpler time. It's so weird.
Well, I seen a guy the other day sitting on a bench reading a newspaper. That's just like, oh, that's
Take a
fucking
photo
weird.
of it.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
Prepare to be lost.
Yeah.
Like your life, your existence in this moment is basically already over. Like this isn't happening. Like you can sit there and read your newspaper that may as well have been printed in 1934.
I wonder if it was.
Probably similar
But-
news.
Yeah, it's just propaganda. It's all just junk that someone wants you to think. And I mean that's most of what we take in. But
Well, yeah.
Think about it this way too. So like the garbage posting that happens in Instagram, this constant need for putting something out to garner attention.
it's
This
fucking
is-
deafening.
Well, this is like,
Even my own shit, I'm like, God damn,
but
I
think
need to
about it-
shut the fuck up.
Think about it like we have social media, but before that we had media.
Yeah,
It's the same shit.
I know it is.
It's the same like, oh, I just want people to read and buy and all the same
But that's
nonsense.
it's what you have to do. It's like I really hate these comments. The ones that bother me the most are the kind of aware ones that are like, don't you have anything else going on in your life? Like that kind of thing. It's like, yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Yeah,
you
I sure-
fucking moron. yes,
but-
of course.
But the weirdest thing
This
is like
all I do.
the weirdest-
Stand outside with candy canes.
the weirdest thing
Yeah.
to me is like that guy has nothing else going on, so he can
Yeah.
make obvious comments.
well, yeah, here we are meeting in the ether.
Yeah.
You're screaming into the ether at me. And here I am in the ether as well.
Yeah.
Here we are, and this is what the day and age looks like. Yes, I am sticking something through my nose again. Because as I said, it's hard to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to stay relevant. You can be... explosive growth on Instagram typically happens within... not the first year that you're on Instagram, but the first year of doing something interesting on Instagram.
Right.
So say Scott starts doing a new form of tattooing that's
Yeah.
never been seen in North America before. Maybe it's been seen worldwide, but it's relatively new to Alberta, for example. Now Scott is trending. Okay, so a month passes. Maybe he's still trending, but now he has to diversify a little bit. He has to change the formula a little bit just to make it edgy again. How long can he prolong that? How long until they're like, yeah, Scott, we've seen that before. What else have you got to offer? And then not only does Scott stop trending and stop growing, but then Scott starts to stagnate and backpedal.
So this leads into a different perspective because my relationship with these mediums is much different than yours.
Well, sure.
For example, I didn't start one until I started tattooing in Canada.
Yeah.
Whereas like, oh, I'm tattooing in Canada now, I kind of need to have an Instagram. Neat. Started Instagram, here we go, but it's only a means to an end. It's that, oh, to do this for a career, I also need this little red square tagged on to everything, right? Like, oh, I've always got to edit some stuff and put it over here and comment and tag some crap. And then, oh, apparently for that to do anything, I have to go on and scroll and like and comment. It's just chores on top of my job. It's just a part of my job that is kind of a nuisance, right? But to be relevant as a tattooer, it doesn't seem to matter how I tattoo. What matters is that I tattoo something good, and then I put it on.
I can give you the same tattoo you're going to do today.
Yeah.
At 10,000 likes or 10 likes.
That's right. Exactly.
It's
doesn't
all
change
about
the tattoo I do.
It has nothing to do with the quality of it.
Well,
yeah. I've seen some really bad tattoos.
Oh man, don't be wrong.
Oh, yeah, of course.
When I go online and I see these people that are doing the worst shitty tattoos, and I've followed a lot of these people that just do these kind of like weird, crappy tattoos, and they've got 20,000 followers. And I'm going, what is this crap?
Well,
I don't get it.
Well, that doesn't mean that they're real followers.
20,000 followers can be 10 followers or 100,000, and it's potential.
Oh,
this is the other
course.
thing that's fucking confusing that people don't understand. And that's why I don't see myself as that big.
Yeah.
And you guys probably go 130,000. That's huge. But I'm like, yeah, but reach potential is what matters. And if Instagram is only giving you so much reach, you may as well have less.
Isn't it weird though that we got this like Papa Instagram that's like doling out reach?
Oh, it's weird. It's only weirder the more you know.
This is my problem with social media. It's that there's this big algorithm, this AI in the sky.
Yeah.
That
you can't interface
that
with.
That only lets people see my tattoos, whether they're good or not. It only lets them see my tattoos if that day I went on there and I liked some other people's tattoos and left some comments.
And it's not even as simple as that either, because you could do all of that and still not get any eyes.
Oh, trust me, I know.
Like, say you have 110 followers, doesn't mean 110 are seeing it.
No,
probably means 25 are seeing it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I've got 1,200 followers or something, like 1,100 followers, and like whenever I post a thing, I'm like, 30 people will see this.
Yeah.
That's just because like I know that.
Well, you've beaten yourself into a hole.
Oh yeah, sweet hole.
But at the same time, even if you didn't, like, you'd be lucky and quite grateful to get half of your reach.
Oh, I would be stoked, especially
It's
now
crazy
that I
to say
actually
that.
want people to ask me for a tattoo.
Well, you'd almost
like genuinely, I would like that.
see. It's counterintuitive to most people to think, but you'd be better served starting over, like starting fresh.
Fuck.
Because you've done damage to yourself over the years. And not because you've done damage to yourself, but in the eyes of the algorithm, you're boring as fuck. And I'm not. I have nothing invested in it one way or the other. I'm just telling you. Sometimes
Should have something invested in it.
Well, I know.
If I get better at tattooing,
what I'm getting at
take
is
over for me.
Yeah. So what I would get at is when you've got 1,000 followers that have been stagnant for years and just kind of hanging out, and they haven't seen anything or liked anything you posted in 5 years, what are the chances that they're going to now?
Low.
So those same people might like what you post if you posted it on another page, but they're not even going to get the chance to now because Instagram has gone, this guy hasn't been interesting forever. Why would he be interesting now? Right? You're somewhere below zero on the scale.
And in the law of averages, what I'm doing right now doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Like I'm in my 30s reinventing my entire life.
Yeah.
Like,
it's hard.
It wouldn't make any sense to any algorithm, to be honest with you.
It's hard. You've solidified your posting habits as basically nothing.
Yeah.
And so the algorithm would not know what to do with that.
Yeah.
You could have a surge potentially. It might change things, but what I would recommend is starting fresh.
Ugh, that sucks.
It does suck. Nobody likes to hear it, but it is the facts of the matter, and all of your content from then would be relevant to what you're doing now, not what you were doing before. Not dog pictures and the odd picture of you and your wife and
I'm still gonna put
different
on dog
things.
pictures.
Like, hey, you can do whatever you want. I still want to do those things.
No.
I do those things still.
Yeah.
But I took a pretty heavy punishment for it to begin with. Still do. Like, if I post pictures of me and my son, I lose followers still, like tons. And when I say tons,
as a kid, that sucks.
Yeah, it is like that. It sounds insane, but it's true.
It is insane.
Like that one I did of me and my son the other day, 170 follower loss that day. Didn't lose that many. I gained, I think, an aggregate of 70 people. Mm-hmm. But like losses were like 170, gains are like 250. Like it's never. There's so much breakage.
Social media, stock market.
It's discouraging as fuck.
Sure is.
But like, okay, so yes, but
Well, here now that I'll go deeper into my end goal here, because like with the Instagram, here currently in Lethbridge, I don't have a trouble finding clients. Right, I can always keep my schedule full, and as time goes on, I'll naturally be able to narrow that down more and more to just the clients I like and just the styles I like. Right, as time goes on, that'll naturally happen, even on my current super like slow progression, super BS Instagram, but. Someday I'd like to go traveling with this. I'd like to go to Europe, do a bunch of guest spots. I'd like to go to South America, do some guest spots, travel and do some tattooing. For that, you're much better off. You kind of have to be in those 5 digits followers, right? You kind of want to be 10,000 and up to send a message to a shop in Germany and say, hey, I want to come tattoo here.
So the thing is that shop in Germany is the big thing.
Yeah.
So like because I get these requests from guest artists and things like that, right? And I search them out. And for me, I know quality of work. So for me, when I'm hunting down people, I'm only searching for stuff that I like the look of.
But some people want a big draw.
And a lot of shops,
they want a name.
But we haven't had the resource in Lethbridge, Alberta to get a big name.
That's right.
But when we opened up Kelowna, all of a sudden, I could message Ralph, and who's like number 2 portrait guy in the world, and he was like, yeah, sure, do they have any good fishing around there? And it was one of those like, what? Because we had an ideal seriously, it was like he just wanted to bring his family. He's like, I'll do a couple tattoos, but I really just want to go fishing.
And he needs an excuse to go to Kelowna.
Yeah. No, legit.
When there's no excuse to come to Lethbridge.
Because like I want to make a few $1,000.
Yeah.
There's no excuse to live in Lethbridge.
No, there's not. But
here we are.
That's the only type of like. Then all of a sudden, the name draw, all that stuff. That's all entirely location based. Like if you want to go to Cologne and tattoo, all of a sudden, you're gonna need a name.
That's right.
But if you want to go to Germany, I've got 6 different shops I could send you to that will promote you well enough that you can actually get a client base. But it's down to the shop.
Let me tell you,
that's right.
And this is where I'm going to contrast what you're saying just a bit. And not that it's not true, but who the fuck was Ephemera Remy a few years ago? No one would have ever cared where I went. I've had people ask me to come to tattoo conventions all around the world.
Why don't you?
What's in it for me?
Money, hopefully.
Well, maybe. I had an Ink magazine shoot offer twice. So clout matters.
Yeah.
Of course
what
it does.
Scott's saying about wanting to get into the 10,000 bracket, you want to look even bigger than that.
I'm just saying that like
you roll up with 120,000 followers on Instagram.
To get there in the tattoo game these days.
Oh, I know.
It's impossible.
But what I'm getting at is that if you were doing the same tattoos at 120,000 followers,
totally
and
different.
You plunk into some city and you drop in there and they advertise you 120,000 Scotty tattoos. You got bigger amounts of people coming for your tattoos.
Oh, of course.
Goodness. And it's just the optics. And that's all it is.
Yeah, that's why people pay for numbers,
no better if he's 10 followers or 110,000.
Yeah, same.
Well,
he's the same fucking guy.
Same tattoo.
I would argue no. Because, like, you doing what you do at 10,000 followers and at 100,000 followers is very different.
Oh, yeah, I've learned so much.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, the skill set of growing it, you didn't get to 100,000 followers by chance. You didn't get it lottery. You didn't pay for it. It was by hard work and by the fact that you got better at it, giving people more of what they wanted.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, you can't just say, oh, a number is going to get him that.
Not for so social media skill set is more developed potentially. Tattooing not.
No, I think it is.
Doesn't mean it means that he might have a better eye of what people like.
Yes, because but that's experience too. It's creating an image that's striking, presenting it in a way that will catch the eye enough to slow someone down to engage with it. It's all about knowing your client, knowing what they want, being empathetic for what is expected of this person that they're scrolling past, and you do that.
What I can't get past is, like, I always figured there was a saturation point to me where it's like, yeah, I can be very well known, and God knows there's a lot of people who know of me that don't follow me.
Oh yeah, there's tons.
I've been seen by millions of people, but the saturation point what I'm talking about is how many people could possibly ever follow me for what I am. I'm not the best looking guy. I'm in my 30s. Potential is all mental. So like physically I'm going downhill, not uphill. Just age. That's just what happens, right? I have way too many big piercings for most people's tastes, and I purposely do things that seem repulsive to many people. I check a lot of things at the door. I have a wife. I have a son. These things are limiters. They're not enhancers in terms of your reach.
Here's.
I think you can view it that way.
On the subject of saturation,
It's not about. It's not that I think they're limiting me in life. It's that I understand open is more appealing because more people can go. That could be mine. That's not a conscious thing. That's a subconscious thing that happens.
Let's do some math in this though. So
Doing meth?
Cool. Let's do some meth on this.
Let's do some meth on this. Why not? Let's get fucked.
Google, and there's a billion users on Instagram. So suppose that 99 out of 100 don't give a fuck about tattoos, don't give a fuck about piercings, and your general look is just not going to draw them in, right?
Yeah.
Or if they have some tattoos and piercings, your thing is not going to do anything for them.
Well, I'm counterculture even for tattoos.
So that leaves 1 in 100.
Come downright blasphemous.
That leaves 1 in 100 that might be interested. But 1 in 100 out of a billion is 10 million potential followers. So your saturation is probably somewhere at more like 5 to 6 million users.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
No, I completely agree.
Like there's probably 5+ million people out there who would be curious enough in following someone like you.
I'll tell you this
right?
much.
No, but a lot of those users don't have enough taste to follow 10 people like you. So they're following 1 or 2 people like you that might not be you.
Especially
right?
like you're in an industry that you're on the edge of an industry, right?
Yeah.
So if you're talking in terms of your upside potential, I get a blackout request once every 2 months.
Yeah.
And they're getting more common.
Oh, for sure.
So as they get more common, that means the way that you are presented becomes more mainstream, in which case the way that you get presented becomes more of a
I'm
possibility
holding the
to
tail,
expand.
man. Like, it's always on the edge. And I say it all the time, but, like, you need that person to drag the whole world farther. You need people going out on the edge to pull the whole world.
Dude, I think, okay, Skeleton Boy, what was his deal?
Zombie Boy, Rick Hest.
Yeah, so where was he at? He was in movies and shit.
Yeah, he was all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say wherever he was, you'd be easily able to get to that.
I've had people mention me as like almost like a second coming of that guy in some respect. Or in the same breath. First we had this guy, now we've got Remy, like that kind of a thing. I've had that mentioned to me quite a few times. But
another one. If you got shredded.
Yeah.
If you got huge, all of a sudden, totally different story. That 5 million could be 50 million.
We're getting you some steroids,
when you put
boys.
fitness in,
if you put fitness in it,
when you put fitness in,
and like aspirational stuff,
yeah,
like because that's what guys like is motivational.
Well,
things.
yeah,
and
you get,
perspirational.
what you get a lot of is wow,
wearing
you
Gucci
spent
shoes.
$100,000 on tattoos, but you never hit the day at the gym once. It's like, yeah, I bet you I'm in better shape than you are, though. Fast, you know what?
Of
like,
course,
it's always
he's leaving a comment on an Instagram page.
Fattest, most
You're better
pathetic
in
slug
shape.
that you've ever seen that make comments like that.
Of course,
like
I'm
a
sure
guy
the
who
guy
can
trolling
probably
you's in
barely
great shape.
stand up off the couch anymore.
Yeah.
Is the one that's saying that.
Just let me finish my marathon and then comment on this post.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not happening.
It's always the dregs of humanity that.
Well, not always, but yeah, it's pretty common. Pretty fucking common.
But I will say something that may sound weird is that you don't want to trend as hard as you think you do.
No, I don't.
Because what I realize on TikTok when I get sucked into it, which is almost never, but I got sucked in a little bit last week, and don't do that because it's never ending.
I mean, don't worry, I won't.
Well, what I mean to say is, like, I had a
forced to
video
go China.
go fairly viral on TikTok again, and I haven't had one go viral there in a little while. But, like, the amount of hatred is obscene and hard to look away from it if you peer into it.
I think it's awesome.
Like, holy moly, what have I uncovered, right? Like, it truly is otherworldly amounts of hatred. And you're imagining that each one of these people could be Kevin and Scott. Imagine you put them all in this room, and then you're standing here, and they're all on the floor hurling insults at you. Imagine that for a minute.
Shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
And there's
Shame.
millions of them.
Yeah.
Millions of comments. And you're like, this is otherworldly. This is not what happened. So I was saying to Sarah that day when I went to pick her up, I'm like, I'm really glad that that doesn't happen to me on Instagram every day. Because I find Instagram harder to turn off. Like, I feel like it's closer to home for me.
Well, that is kind of home base.
And you put more work into it.
So I think that
what you put work into, you're more invested in. It's a natural like law of returns.
I feel like TikTok is like accidental growth for
Yeah,
everybody. It's like, oh, I did a
whoa, I
dance.
stumbled into 1 million followers.
Yeah, it's like a whoopsie.
But I feel like Instagram has some liability there where it's like they don't want to let Scott grow that quick because maybe Scott needs to take that hate incrementally and get used to it as part of his diet.
No, I
they
don't
want me
think
to
that's
put the work in.
Yeah.
They want me to spend.
Well, there's that. But
they want me to spend an hour a day putting the work in.
okay, so
just to
say
get
it
there.
isn't Scott. Say it's 15-year-old Scott, and he's, you know,
They're not supposed to be on Instagram anyways.
what I'm getting at is, okay, we'll say he's 18. We'll say he's 18 and he's growing
That's
up
what all
online.
15-year-olds say.
And now he's suddenly viral on Instagram.
Yep.
And he's being hated on by thousands of people, and now he kills himself because of what some of those people said to him.
Yeah, that's why they took away likes, right?
There's a liability there. Well, they took them away in Canada and Ireland and some other places, but not everywhere.
So yes, they do. In my opinion, they have some culpability.
Yeah.
Simply because they're not doing this without consulting psychologists and psychiatrists. Like, this is all done in a way that they are using those fields to benefit themselves.
Yeah.
And so if they're understanding their use of these things, then all of a sudden they're culpable in a different way. They're not even negligent. They're informed.
Yeah, they're
So
intentional.
Yeah. It's you're using human psychology, positive or negative, and you know that going into it. So I think, like, if you have someone that does commit suicide through this platform, I think they're directly responsible.
Yeah.
And I think it's informed.
Well,
which
I
is,
would
like,
argue that they do.
premeditated
I would
almost.
argue that they do commit suicide through this platform.
For sure.
And it's not because of the nightmare scenario I just suggested. It's because they're feeling like no one likes them.
Yeah.
Because their posts getting seen by 5 people and 2 of them are liking them and they have 1,000 followers. Right? And it makes them
So
feel
you're saying
like
this is me?
I'm saying this is you.
Yeah.
But you care more.
Well, I have a reason to care. I don't have it just as, like, if I had
No,
no...
what I'm saying is it's deeply rooted in some people to care more
course,
that
yeah.
have been raised online.
Of course,
like we
that's
can
the place
sit
they
here
get
and laugh
affirmation
about
from.
people having affirmation from likes and you shouldn't take your self-importance from
But
that.
that might be the only place to get it.
Well, especially now when no one's seeing each other.
Yeah.
Like, Ivan FaceTimed
Also,
a kid yesterday because they can't hang out. You know what I mean? Like, people are only seeing each other
Via these
online.
mediums. Yeah.
And we don't, when we hang out with our friends, we don't necessarily notice the dopamine bump that comes from having actual human contact and
course not.
socialization.
We're
But
used to it.
When you're alone in your living room doing nothing,
And that's all
and
you
then
ever
you get
do.
a dopamine bump from getting likes or whatever, messaging this chick you think is cute on there, or getting a message from this person, or whatever you do that gets you that dopamine bump. You notice it then, and that becomes an addictive activity because you can just always do that when you're alone.
Yeah.
But hanging out with your friends and things in person suddenly feels less important because you don't necessarily notice the dopamine bump that does actually come with that.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's one of the things that I'm grateful for with this podcast even. Like, we're here and, like, my phone's over there.
Oh, yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, your phone is taking video.
Yeah, it's literally like it's out of my hands for at least an hour and a half, and granted, I've given myself a purpose for it, but it's nice.
Yeah, it is nice, and it's nice to see that you can do it too.
Like,
Like, hey,
Monday,
this is
I just
possible.
put my phone to this. Like, after I left here, I just put my phone to the side. I was like, whatever.
I have points in my life where I just don't go on my phone now, like, and for hours, because it's
Mine's on silent, and it shouldn't be because I never message people back.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
brutal.
it became
okay.
necessary for me at a certain point. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it became necessary for me to just go, nope, I'm not talking to any of these people.
Well, so if you say you had someone give you life coach, right? So it's like, for me, if I had someone giving me meals, I'd be healthy. You know what I mean? Like if I had someone else just
someone
take the
cooks you
reins of
healthy
it,
food all the time.
yeah, I'd be dope.
Yeah, imagine if we had a caretaker.
Yeah. Well, this is where like I think a lot of people want the proverbial parent to.
Oh, we're gonna get it.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Don't worry. Don't want
This
too
look
hard.
in your face right then was pretty great.
But like,
Just
I
turn
know
your brain off. I know what's best for you.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think, one of the reasons that we have this drive for this magic thing, because like we know ourselves are not strong enough to do whatever it is that we want it to do.
No.
In the way that we
fun
want it to do.
Our brains are wired to look for the magic. We have this God-shaped hole, quotes smart here, in our psyche that has led us to create all kinds of religions, all kinds of belief systems, all kinds of.
Here we are.
Yet here we are filling that hole in
that hole with whatever the fuck we can.
In a modern atheistic world, that hole gets filled with all kinds of yoga and breathing meditation practices and social media and actual fictional media like television. It gets filled with all kinds of things because we're trying to believe in powers greater than ourselves, greater than our tribe. We're wired to look for those patterns and seek that meaning to fill that hole.
I got caught up. I was watching the Dark Horse podcast. Brett Weinstein.
Man, I can't get into it.
It's dry. It's dry. It's really slow, but
It's like pure vermouth.
I was listening to the one with Sam Harris, and that one was particularly dry because two of them are very dry.
Man,
But
yeah, I'm not that person. I can't just sit there. And listen.
I had it on the background while I was doing some other shit. But they were
The
talking
AirPods
about.
are for you.
May as
Put
well
them in
just
and
be-
keep doing your
They were
shit.
talking
May as well
about
just be someone scratching a dry wall in the background. It's just like, ugh.
determinism, and whether everything we do is predetermined, and
Yeah.
then Brett couldn't get past the idea for some reason that if it's all determined, then none of it means anything. He just kept saying, if we're all going to do what we're going to do forever, then what's the point of any of it? And I was like, yeah, you just discovered nihilism. Like,
Congratulations.
You just discovered nihilism. I just felt like saying that out loud. The whole conversation. 3 hours. Yes, there's no point to any of this. Why does that matter?
Well, I think I hear this argument a lot, which, like, that's the old philosopher argument, right? That's one of the reasons that we have philosophies. I can't remember the guy, but he used to say that, like, philosophy is just the constant pursuit of deciding whether or not you should put a gun in your mouth in the morning.
Sure.
Because, like, the difficulty that we have of purposelessness is a real problem.
Yeah.
Because, like, when you get
Or it's the opposite. It's an imaginary problem.
I don't think it's imaginary.
It can be both, actually.
because it's
Welcome to
very
philosophy.
real, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but by philosophy's perspective, the universe doesn't care what you determine your life's purpose to be.
Yeah,
so
it's
it matters and doesn't matter at the
monstrously
same time.
indifferent to
Well, it
what
depends
you think.
which part of
That's
science
exactly
It
you
is
listen to.
monstrously
We've heard of
indifferent.
philosophy.
Oh no, I'm just saying that, like, there's also that multi-universe thing of string theory, where you are all that is, and everything else collapses around you,
I mean, I think, therefore I am.
kind of deal.
Yeah.
So I would love it. Am I distracting from your point right now? You're still on something.
I don't know. I just for me, it's
Pretty
like,
abstract,
I can
anyway.
understand why he has a hard time with it. Is all I'm trying to say, because everybody has a hard time with it. Everybody has a hard time with it because it seems like, well, if that isn't a part of it, if there is the nihilistic way, then for some reason all of our brains are wired to think, well, then why don't we just shut off the power and call it a day?
I don't know why we think that way.
Well,
On this
because
Who
subject,
cares
though,
if it's meaningless? You can still enjoy it.
welcome to
that's
philosophy.
the difficulty, right?
but
Enjoyment
most-
isn't necessarily purpose.
And most people don't enjoy it.
Yeah,
So,
100%. Most
I
people
would-
think that their enjoyment comes later.
I would really like it if a lot of podcasters, especially fucking Rogan, would take some philosophy courses and read a couple of philosophy books.
Well, Rogan can't possibly connect with reality anymore.
yeah.
Like, not anyone else's reality.
But I feel like
anyway.
a couple of, because a lot of these podcasters including ourselves, spend so much time.
Including
We're
ourselves.
perfect.
Including ourselves.
Oh,
spend so
damn.
much time discussing these, everyman problems and larger picture issues that definitely interact with all of our lives. You know? But they'll, like the podcast you guys are, or the episode you were just referring to, they spend so long taking this giant arc around this one rather simple philosophical point.
They tried to get out from there, but they just couldn't.
Right?
They just kept coming back to it.
A few
What is a crocodile?
a few
A
simple
crocodile
books.
is a complicated billiard ball. That was my favorite line of the whole podcast.
I can't believe you listened to it all.
3.5 hours.
Well, that's ridiculous.
See, a basic understanding of rudimentary philosophy would get them into that point more succinctly and more efficiently, and then back out
No, they
in a
didn't
way that
get
actually
anywhere.
matters. Yeah, of course not, because they're not freaking philosophers. Why are they trying to do a long form podcast where the root concept is philosophy?
Well, I mean, it's fun to talk.
It is. I mean, here we freaking are.
And like, there's obviously nihilistically, there's no purpose to it, so whatever.
So whatever.
But-
Here I am from the sign reason to
Yeah.
Well,
chaos again.
Who cares?
I mean, there is reason in chaos, I would say, but there doesn't need to be either.
No.
It can just be random stuff that happens until we all pass away.
I'm just saying that information would be more productive for people to listen to if the people who were regularly on a daily basis discussing those kinds of topics took a minute to understand what chaos actually looks like, how the universe actually interacts with them, what does meaning mean.
These are too lofty topics for us to get into because most people can't even figure out how they're going to buy groceries this week.
That's
Again,
right.
This is where I always go. It's like we can't think this way. It's like, huh? What the fuck are you talking about? I got to get gas. I'm going to be late to work. Get the fuck out of my way.
There's
right?
room,
Like
there's room for both, though, as Duncan Trussell always
Yeah.
says. Because Duncan Trussell is one of my heroes for this. Because he's always discussing Buddhism and enlightenment and all these things, but then he by the end of the episode, he always quantifies that by saying, "Don't worry. After this, I'm still going to drive to town and yell at people in traffic. I'm just doing my best." So there is room to strive for better, intentionally and educated way, but then still be a fucking human at the end of the day.
The old saying I like for that is just because you know there's something wrong doesn't mean you can fix it.
That's right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, I can see how petty and weak I am, but that doesn't mean tomorrow I'm not going to be petty and weak.
Understanding how petty and weak you are allows you to forgive yourself when you're yelling at someone in traffic or behaving
everyone
in a
else
manner
is
that,
too.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
Exactly.
that's psychology right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just understanding, being able to come to terms with the fact that this is what it is, and
What I used
let go
to
of it.
think
Acceptance, right?
was like I was halfway out when I could realize there was a problem, but then I would shame myself because you can't do anything with the problem. Or
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, but I'm still doing the same shit. It's like, yeah, that's because you're human. And humans are only so good. Like, we may only have so much free will, if any at all. I may have been predetermined to have this podcast with you guys, right? There's almost no agency in our lives. And I feel like when we do have some agency, that's where you get the multiple world thing, where it's like, there was probably 5 or 6 pivotal moments in my life where I could make a real big change, either for the better or for the worse, make a giant fucking mess, and now you have to deal with it. But when you're in those situations where you have that wild surge of what feels like free will to really change shit up, those are the times when I feel like you get a multiple world scenario where it's like, now there's a split because one version of me did this and another version of me did this.
Yeah, it's quantum events is what they call it.
A giant surge of what feels like free will. I want to put
Well,
that
how
on
many
plaque.
days do you wake up and do the same shit every day?
Oh
So,
man, every time when I live in Canada, so
Yeah.
much of the time.
This is my only thing to this, because
Maybe I just dropped a huge bomb there saying free will is a lie.
no, I don't. Okay,
Turns out we all believe in fate here at the Remy Show. Ta-da!
So I'm
predeterminism.
not entirely, but almost entirely.
Really?
me, I almost entirely believe in predeterminism.
Oh no, I believe in pretty much full chaos. It's fucked.
Well, chaos can be predetermined anyways.
Yeah, I believe in a different kind of chaos than that for sure.
I know
Well,
you do.
we'll get into that, but
My thing is like, anytime I hear these things, this like, oh, I've got this thing, this predetermined, blah blah, like all these answers. I look at it the same way that I look at most people with answers. Like, as much as I love the way Sam Harris thinks, he has answers the same way that any deity has answers.
Yeah,
He's
it's
preaching. He's preaching in the same way
but
that
I would
everyone
say
does.
a caveat to what I just said was my thoughts on that came before I encountered him.
No, I know.
I just found him and I was like, hey, this guy kind of thinks like I do.
I'm just saying the idea that so the evidence-based thing of predeterminism would make sense because you can see patterns. We're a pattern recognition thing.
Yeah.
So if all of a sudden we start looking at our lives and we go like, man, I can't believe I keep doing the same shit every time, and you kind of go, well, maybe I got nothing. Okay, that's a great theory, but the idea that you know that is not real, and that's one of those things that when I look at people's beliefs in any way, shape, or form, I think they're a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, he believes that.
Yeah, no, he's too ardent. I've always said that. Like, it's how can you possibly know for sure?
No, and it's the
like
same.
even me saying what I just said.
Yeah.
I'm open to being completely wrong.
But the weird thing
There's
is,
a
if I,
difference between saying, "Oh, I think this and I believe this," than saying, "This is how it is." And
For
I know
all I
that,"
know,
right?
there are lizard men, right,
Yes.
running the earth.
Well, certainly.
For all I know, I don't know much. You know what I mean?
but I know I love.
It could be that.
I mean,
any one theory is possible.
a guy went into a pizza shop with a shotgun, trying to free the child sex slaves. So here we are in a world where
I don't want to open that case, but
we're not going to.
what I'm getting at is any of these things could possibly happen.
Yeah.
And what would we know? We're not fucking wizards. The
Maybe
fuck
we
do
are.
we know? We're just a couple of guys at a tattoo shop.
But this is one of those things that, like, when you hear a conversation like that, and it's frustrating, and it keeps coming back around to it. What you're hearing is a rubbing of belief, and
Yeah.
like they're incongruent to each other. There's a deep belief in purpose that Eric has, and
Brett,
there's
but yes,
Brett.
same
yeah,
fucking
sorry.
thing.
Yeah,
Well,
but
one of them is much more charming than the
yeah,
other.
and then there's a deep belief in Sam Harris in his own brain.
Yeah.
He really thinks that he knows himself.
Well, and they think they're being charitable to one another.
Yeah.
But they're constantly trying to straw man one another's argument.
yeah. Oh yeah. They're all talented defenders of position.
Yeah.
That's where like the Sam Harris Jordan Peterson
Oh,
thing.
those were great though.
Well, the first
They were-
one was not.
The first one was terrible.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't get past truth.
But it was the same thing.
Yeah.
They both have a belief, a deep-seated belief in what that word meant.
Yeah.
And they know how to talk around each other.
This is one of my biggest issues with academia currently.
Yeah.
Is I'll sit down and listen to various lectures or discussions or debates on a subject, and or have one with friends of mine, and the whole time, like, you stop after 15, 20 minutes on this one topic, and you're like, now we're just discussing what this fucking word means.
It's a language game.
Semantics.
I've got better shit to do than discuss what this word means. Like, tell me what this word means to you and express your point on it. I'll tell you what it means to me, and I'll express my point on it. And I'm terrible for getting sucked into those conversations.
Sometimes the problem is, and why you can't move past it is, the minute you cede that territory, your whole argument was built around it.
That's right.
Like,
That's right.
If this isn't true, nothing I think is true.
Yeah, this is the
Linchpin.
a linchpin argument for sure. Because that was one of the things that I see with a lot of people around their beliefs, whether it be what they would consider religious or just belief in general, is this like all or like if one thing's wrong, then it has to all be wrong for some reason.
It all falls apart. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I get that, but if you can kind of see that scares you, immediately, eventually, that's going to fall.
What I always think is, it's like, and this is my metaphor for this. I came up with it when I listened to Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson version 1. The first argument was, this is the first of many battles, and it's like almost like you have two castles right next to each other, and you're both attacking a gate, and whoever breaks down that gate gets in, right? And then that whole army swarms into the castle.
Yep.
Right? It's almost like if I lose my wall, this guy's going to invade everything and take over. So they very defensive of that first argument.
Which is not a productive way to learn anything.
It's not. It's not a productive way to have a conversation in general when your wall is up the entire time. But that's what it felt like.
Yeah. Well, and they both had summary versions of what they thought the other person was.
Yeah.
Which, like, if you're going to have a debate like that or anything like that, I almost feel like they should have met at a bar and had a beer or something like that.
Smooth the edges first.
Some, like, normal engagement that was not anything to do with this.
I gotta watch these episodes now.
No, you don't.
No, skip the first one. That's
skip
for
the
sure.
first one. The second one's like they acknowledge the fact that the first one sucked.
I feel like our conversation here is more productive than whatever the crap they were talking about. Less intellectual, perhaps.
Oh, for sure.
But more furthering as far as learning anything useful.
Well, there's humility, and
Yeah.
there was none of that on hand in the first conversation.
No.
Good.
Humility allows you to go, this is what I think, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Or
When you don't
it's-
have that.
it's neat you think that. I don't see it that way, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
Well, a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah.
They don't have the,
But
oh, and that's okay
There,
kind of
there are
vibe.
people that I don't have that with. You know, there are people where I'll find myself getting into an argument or discussion, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing and saying? Like, I know better than this. Why am I sticking to my guns in this bizarre manner when I know better than this?
Well, and the other thing is how much does it matter to me that this person I don't even like thinks what I think?
That's right.
Well, no, I don't think it matters that person likes it or believes it. It's just that you do, and you're looking to reaffirm what you know or what you believe through this, through whatever's going on. You're just looking to reaffirm yourself.
And
it's like
sometimes
our
it's-
own ego's preservation, right?
And sometimes it's how strongly ego-based they're coming at you. If they're coming at you going, no, my way of seeing it's right and yours is wrong, then it's much easier for you to get built up.
Well, they're
and
coming for
build
your
strong-
life at that
You
point.
respond
That's
in
right.
kind.
Whereas here, we're not coming for each other's lives. We're saying, oh, wow, you see it that way? I super see it this other way
So-
because of these things, I guess.
What do you think about chaos and no determinism then?
So, well, I grew up with a form of magic in my life, right? Like, I grew up with religion. And when you truly believe in religion, there's invisible spirits watching over you while you're out knocking on doors. There's all kinds of weird stuff allegedly happening in the quote-unquote heavens, wherever that is in the physical realm. Oh, wait, it's not in the physical realm. It's in this invisible realm. Well, you can't see it, but it's all still happening. And these characters, these creatures still really exist. So I grew up with this whole complicated belief system. And when I left that, I was like, I don't believe that all this invisible stuff exists. So now my belief system, as much as I've tried to like break out of it a bit, my belief system is very much like, oh, wow, it's so crazy that we're flying through space on this chunk of rock with a molten steel core spinning in the middle of it that somehow attracted an atmosphere and liquid water and has somehow evolved life. This is crazy, and anything could happen at any second. So that's kind of the way I see the universe now.
Fair.
And in there, there's no.
It's funny how our
there's no room naturally
personal
for
experiences instruct our viewpoints on not just us, but like the whole world around us, right? Like your deeply personal story about your upbringing instructs all of the world around you,
Oh, big time.
right? And we
But
all do
also-
that. And we all forget that we all do that.
Also,
Right.
I've read a good 2 or 3 books on death.
Yeah.
And coming to terms with death. And when you're getting into the philosophy of your life experience ending, there is a deep, deep meaninglessness to life, right? And you kind of have to embrace that meaninglessness to properly enjoy your life. And the more you go down that philosophical path, the more you're led to feel that, oh yeah, none of this was planned. It all just happens. my consciousness has the exact same value and weight of the consciousness of someone who stepped on a landmine when they were 4 and just died, right? Like, my consciousness happened to be in a different place at a different time, and I've survived longer and learned more than that child's shorter lifespan. But my consciousness, it is no more or less magic or more or less meaningful than that child who could have lived a long and happy, prosperous life, but just happened to die at 4 because they stepped on a landmine.
My contention isn't about the quality of your consciousness and the duration, or whether anything was necessarily planned by anyone or any of that. It's more like, was that child always going to die that way? Or was there some possible event that could have prevented it? And then does it change what that means?
So in my...
Should the parents be more upset to know that the child might have lived? Or should they be more upset to know the child was always going to die no matter what?
So in my chaos theory, both of those statements are true. Because in a chaotic universe, any butterfly effect on that child would have led him to step 1 foot to the left of that landmine, right? So someone could have zipped by him on their scooter and blown dust up his fucking shorts, and he could have stepped differently when he's in the jungle 10 minutes later. His mom could have fed him something. He could have had a fight with his sister. Whatever. Anything could have caused him to step 1 foot to the left instead of on that landmine, or take a different path home, or take or his mom could have reminded him, hey, make sure you take a well-traveled path so you don't step on a landmine. Because in these countries, that's what you do. You just don't walk places that, like, if you're within like 100 kilometers of a border, you don't walk somewhere that doesn't have a path already. You walk somewhere that's been worn in. You don't just go wandering through the jungle. So if his mom had reminded him of that this morning, he would have been okay.
So then, not to encroach on dark territory, but we could potentially tear open a rift to a parallel world where this kid survived, rescue that child from that version of its parents to this version.
So where I'm going,
and now we have that kid.
Where I'm going with this is, now we're into time and space.
Yeah.
What's the word here? Relativity. Now we're discussing an issue of relativity.
Yeah.
Because to understand if that could have been different, we actually have to change the timeline, or split it into multiple timelines.
Yeah. So this is where I'm wondering always, how long till we have time travel and
the real question, the real question is if you can go back.
Well, yeah, because everyone says it's possible to go forward, but not backward.
And because, like, if we're talking in terms of any of these conversations, like, it's just a matter of, like, okay, well, do we have the possibility to engage with time in any instance? Because then all of a sudden that would answer your question. If not, then it is pretty much predetermined. It's like the billiard ball hitting a break and the balls land.
And a crocodile is a very complicated billiard ball.
And what matter is ever going to survive the gravitational forces you would have to create to actually move through time. So basically, if this ever happens, you're going to be sending messages. You're going to be sending electronic transfers. To be able to send actual physical objects, matter, through time is science fiction. It's so far-fetched, right?
Assumedly. It's always far-fetched.
It's always far-fetched until it's not, yeah.
Yep.
Well,
we have cell phones that we have use for everything.
Yeah, we got those through our understanding of physics and electronics.
I never count out any possibility anymore.
True, but our understanding of time bending to light and gravity shows us that to be able to move through these things, forward to probably more possible for sure. But
forward's definitely possible.
Yeah,
we do that every time. Like, if you go into space, you're technically moving at a different time than we are here, right? Like, our interaction with gravity is the thing that dictates
Which is
that.
That's right.
Complicated to wrap your mind around.
Sort of. But at the same time, it's like real
like
simple.
saying that if you run too fast, you'll go, like, if you could theoretically rocket around the planet, you would be moving faster, right?
Yeah.
Like it's.
But your experience of what you consider to be time would be the same.
Yeah,
You're not
I
going to
know,
be moving
yeah.
in slow
That's
mo,
right.
but the environment that you're no longer in is still dictated by whatever time that is in. So
Yeah.
it is kind of simple, but it's also kind of not.
What I would wonder is, would it be possible to go, man, I can't wait till I get tattooed on Wednesday, and then just rocket around the world for 20 minutes,
Superman 3 style.
and then next thing you know, it's tattoo day, and I passed my whole week.
Yep.
But I'm not older.
So
I love that was an argument in Superman 3. He just spins the Earth back.
It's just insane to go,
What?
you know what? I don't want to live in 2021. I'll live in 2031.
Yeah.
Rocket around the planet for a while. You're 2 weeks older, and now you're in 2031.
So supposedly create an artificial gravity machine.
Sure.
So you walk in, you lay down to this perfect mold of your body, and you're subjected to, 47 Gs or whatever and you're given drugs to survive this, obviously, and
Oh,
Sweet.
Sign me up.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
They're not great. They're not fun drugs. They're just drugs.
So you're partying.
So you're partying, and then you're subjected to 47 Gs, which is enough to collapse all the blood vessels in your whole
At
body.
what point do you go into shock?
Well, you've been given drugs for
Yeah.
this, right?
Yeah.
So your body is
Enough.
able
Partying.
We got that covered.
Partying.
We got that.
Partying at 47 Gs.
So that, in theory, would subject you to, again, a different timeline.
Yeah.
But then
But that would be the environment outside of that.
You'll just be aging 10 times faster than you should be.
Yeah.
So you're going that for...
You're gone. Like, fuck, what?
Boy, that doesn't sound very good to me.
I think
No,
the,
but
oth-
I mean,
I think the
welcome-
opposite would be the ability to do to reverse gravity is really the only probable idea of going backwards.
We'll inverse gravity.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's the only theory
I'm
that
seasick
would,
just thinking about it.
yeah, being able to create a gravitational field that goes the opposite would be the only thing that I could see, and that could be done if you have something that we don't know exists yet.
Yeah, because anytime you increase gravity and
Time moves faster.
and slow. Yes, anytime you increase gravity and decrease velocity, increase velocity, time goes faster, right? As you increase velocity,
Velocity will change depending on your relationship with gravity, right?
right?
Because gravity is an accelerating force.
But suppose you have a decreased gravity and increased velocity. That would be your...
No. Velocity is a part of the function of gravity, right?
Yes.
So that's going to come with it.
But as you get nearer to traveling the speed of light, you get nearer to zero time passing.
Yes.
Right?
Because gravity would be less. Mass times.
Well, no, you
speed
can
of light, right?
travel quickly and have a high level of gravity, right?
If you can create it.
We're gonna get
that's the thing
bogged
is,
down here.
If we're I would love to make a time machine every day. In this
Yeah.
way. So if we're making a time machine, we're supposing science fiction type technologies that allow us to combine these two things. Because to travel through time by entering a black hole's event horizon or by traveling at the speed of light is not productive. Well, the traveling speed of light is obviously for space travel, but finding the increased gravity of an event horizon of a black hole or traveling the speed of light is not useful for someone trying to fix what they did yesterday.
No.
So, to create a time machine, we are supposing science fiction-like technology that allow us to combine a imaginary state of near light speed and a state of lower gravity.
I think you're missing one part of that, which is the mass part of it.
Yes,
Because we don't have the ability to create negative mass.
of course.
So if you could create negative mass, all of a sudden you have negative gravity, which would mean you'd have negative time.
Oh,
Right. So this is like that whole dark energy, dark matter, the dark side of things, because we don't know.
yeah.
And if there is something out there that we could potentially engage with that wouldn't cause everything to explode, that's the only possible scenario that we can see if relativity is correct in the way that they know it to be.
Yeah.
You'd have to basically turn that plus into a minus.
So, fun fact, I think if there's one fun thing to take away from all of this, it's that if right
We have no
now,
idea.
Remy went to space and he entered the event horizon of a black hole,
Sure.
that black hole for the entire remainder of our lifespans would be sitting there, and he would be in that event horizon traveling through that black hole
Forever. And he'd see us go away like that.
That's right. He would be traveling this fast. In his experience, his life would end. From the moment of entering its gravitational field, speeding up into its event horizon, he would only live for another couple of seconds. But for our entire lifespan and for generations to come, people could look at that black hole. Suppose we had the ability to look into that event horizon, and we would see his spaceship stuck in time.
These are the kinds of things that make me think about just how relevant everything is. Because for me, it's over in a blink of an eye, and yet it's dragging on forever.
That's right.
Right.
So your experience of that 10 seconds to your final breath, to your end, would be generations of observers here on Earth until that black hole finally collapses and sucks us in.
How bizarre is that to think about?
I mean,
I love it.
So, like,
I'm not talking about on like a molecular level. I mean just like on a philosophical kind of a moment can feel like an eternity to another person. Right? Like that idea of it was gone in a blink of an eye, but it wasn't though. And that's most of our lives.
well, that's always how you see time looking forward and backwards.
Yeah.
So, like, if you look forward and you're like 10 and you go, man, I can't believe I'm going to be 90 someday. That looks crazy. And then all of a sudden you have a 90-year-old say, oh, it'll be gone in a blink of an eye. Like all of our perception of what we don't know and what we do know, it's always like this really compressed version of past and really exponential version of future.
I have like a weird belief that like this consciousness that we experience isn't really over necessarily when you're dead. Like I feel like
he's moving away from nihilism.
I feel like this life is short, and I'm not really upset about that. But I do feel like I don't necessarily think there's something on the other side. I just feel like there's probably some form of reincarnation in a way.
I will be so stoked if there's an afterlife.
Well, I don't think that it's like what we would think it is. I just think it's almost
Nothing
like
ever is.
a reanimated energy where it's like there's probably only so many consciousnesses. Like, say, maybe it's not me that inhabits the next body that I could act out, but maybe there's some second life that you get to live or something.
We've got to get Simon on here. He's all about this stuff.
Well, it feels to me like this old soul business, this past life thing. I don't feel like that should be entirely discredited. I don't want to get too woo-woo.
Yeah.
But I feel like
It's the whole realm of hustlers.
when,
But yeah.
I feel like when we die, we don't. It's not just like being because I've said before. I feel like sleep is like a small version of death,
Yeah,
where
of
it's
course.
almost like that blackness that
We ain't
there's
afraid of
nothing
sleeping.
going on. I wonder, like, does that just stretch forever? There's got to be something else.
I mean, there
What-
doesn't have to be.
What
Anything.
if? What if we're just material animals?
But there's
and
no-
when
there's-
we rot.
But there's no experiencing of the nothing.
So Rowan's
So,
Rowan's
who
6-year-old
cares?
asked her a question
Yeah.
asked me a question the other day. No, this is actually months ago now. It's just one of her best hits. She says, "When we die, do we melt and smell funny?" Huh. Yup.
We do.
Not
Worm
if you
food.
get buried.
I guess you just dry out slowly.
Yeah. I hate that we do that.
It's
I
silly.
absolutely hate that we do that.
We should put
Formaldehyde
it
to preserve us. Like
buried in the field.
yeah, we should go back to the earth.
Dude.
God, it's so weird that we
The
do
mushrooms
that.
are eating me when I die.
Exactly.
Yeah. Put me in
Like-
the mushroom pile.
That's maybe the weirdest thing that we do as a society.
Yeah.
The idea that, like, no, we're gonna stay this way. Put you in a real nice box. You're
I
gonna
feel
look
like it's
just like
an
that.
artifact of the past, right? Like that made sense at one point, but not so much anymore.
When
Yeah.
did that make sense to
Well,
preserve
I
us?
guess it would probably be like a thing where people would think that's the body of my loved one, right?
Well,
They want it to stay.
Yeah, it's a nostalgic attachment.
Kevin's
like my
familiar with Midnight
grandfather is
Gospel.
buried here.
You may not be. Our North American, what do I want to say? Our North American customary way of dealing with a dead body is post-Civil War era United States that created that to happen. What was happening very commonly is an industry of morticians, we'll call them, kind of emerged during the Civil War era because people were traveling 1,000, 2,000 kilometers away, dying in the battlefront, and then they needed to be shipped back to their family. So they would actually pay these morticians that were traveling with the war front so that when they died, they would be preserved and sent back to their family. But to get sent back to their family, they had to be stuffed with formaldehyde and sawdust and. So basically, this industry emerged of professionals who dealt with dead bodies in this way. And then our living room actually used to be called a parlor because that's where dead bodies were shown after they had died, because a dead body in itself is totally safe for like 48 hours. You can touch it, poke it, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's actually safer than when it was coughing, sneezing, and shitting.
Sure.
Right? So this industry emerged, and after that Civil War ended, they basically just moved that industry into a storefront and continued, and a culture has emerged around it, where now we have a hearse drives down the road with its purple flags up and its lights on, and everyone stops out of respect, and there's a procession of people driving behind them. No one wrote that book. That's not in the Bible or something. That's just what we as a culture do with a dead body.
Interesting.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm not at all afraid of death. Like, not at all. Like, if it comes tomorrow, that's fine enough for me. What I don't understand is the people who want to live forever. That scares the hell out of me. I can't imagine doing that. I can't imagine doing this forever.
Well,
like, the idea doesn't just scare me, it exhausts me.
I was raised and brainwashed to crave living forever. Yeah. So I still want that.
Sarah wants it. She's like, I don't want to die.
Yeah,
like, I kind of want to die. So you're going to have to look for another partner eventually.
I do have caveats of if I live forever. There's a couple things that need to be in place for that to work.
Not only am I going to live forever, but I want this, and this.
But here's the thing is, life being finite means we don't have to fear death. Once life is infinite, now you have a reason to fear death.
Well, now it's a greater sin.
Because if you die, you're not losing out on the next 40 years. You're losing out on the next 40,000 years.
That's where I've seen some futuristic stuff where, like, criminals, people who would kill one another, will be, like, they have to be exiled or killed. Like, you can't have these people in a world that's supposed to go carry on forever.
No,
you can't have people killing each other anymore.
No.
Right? Because a life lost then is so much more valuable, not just to that person, but to the whole society. Because what they do is they limit the amount of people that you can have in general. So say Scott's going to be around for 10 million years. We're not going to have 10 million Scots then. We're only going to have, however many we can sustain. But now one of those Scots is holding up a very valuable position in society. So if he ends up dying, that's a grave cost to all of humanity now.
Have you watched Altered Carbon?
A little bit.
So their idea of your consciousness being on a memory stick, basically, and then you have different bodies depending. Like, I think that would also kind of give you that importance. All of a sudden, like, oh, well, we have to keep this machine running because we have so many consciousnesses, and you can kind of live forever.
Is kind of where I'm talking about after death, where there's probably some... I have this loose theory that there's some organic data bank that's kind of got like a map of consciousness.
Yeah.
Where it's...
That would be called God.
Well, that's what some people would call it.
Yes.
I don't even know how to define what I'm broaching.
Yeah. We have no...
That's called
no
religion.
Well, I'm not getting into the spiritual side of it.
Pragmatic.
I'm trying to be like... I'm trying to take where we are today and how we've culturally come so far, and we get there faster all the time. It seems like I feel like there's got to be some kind of a stored memory in humanity. Well, I don't know how to map that.
Genetic memory is a thing, technically. So
Yeah.
if you want to give it that,
Genetic memory, but I don't know. I don't know if it's something you would ever be able to
be. The genome and afterlife are very different.
I'm not talking about afterlife. I'm talking about a continued cycle. Like there's one cycle of life ends, and then maybe you take up another character. Maybe, and you don't have any recollection of your past life.
Right.
You'll have a weird deja vu every now and then where it's like, I feel like I've done this before.
We gotta get Simon on here. He's into all of this stuff.
But I'm not saying that this is a guarantee or anything like that. Obviously, you can't. But like that, can't just.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't
Which
preach
is
it as a
insane.
guarantee. A lot of people tell you exactly how it's going to be. And
It does feel like
feel free to contribute.
the idea that there's nothing is fine by me, but then there's no observer of that nothing. So who knows what happens?
Tree in the forest.
Exactly. Like,
Well,
who
I mean,
knows?
at the same time, like, maybe we'll know, but probably not.
Well, even if we got what I'm talking about, we
Yeah.
wouldn't remember dying.
Well, maybe.
I feel like there's people running around here, and Scott's like, meanwhile, I've lived 4 lives, and these guys don't even know.
They have no idea.
It's not like you get to
I've
bank
done this
all of
dance.
it. It's just like a collective. Like,
I mean, you say that, but there are people that have actually expressed that to me before.
100%.
Who are like, oh yeah, I've lived a lot of lives. I can remember
that's
being
just
Josh.
dangerous bullshit to me.
Yes.
Well, obviously.
Hustlers, man. There's hustlers everywhere.
Unless they're right.
I mean,
That's
who
always
knows?
the caveat. Like but maybe this this guy, they seem to talk really well about it.
I
So-
always wonder if it's like an online RPG or something where it's like everybody's playing a character, but when that character's done, you just roll a new character.
Okay,
Where it's
new
like-
theory. New theory. You start over exactly from where you left off.
It's too much of an advantage.
No, I'm not saying. Oh, sorry, not from where you left off. You start from where you started,
Oh, and then you
and
get
you just
to do it
repeat
all
it.
again.
So
Maybe
this is a
this
loop.
is only happening over and over
This
again.
is the only thing that is happening.
Yeah.
I mean,
And how could you say any different?
is
You
that
can't say any
psychologically
different.
different from just existing once?
No.
Yeah. So, on the subject of weird belief systems and humans just believing stuff,
Scientology. Totally.
back in my preaching days, for a while I went and visited this woman every week, and
What were you doing for work?
at the time I worked at Superstore. I was a night stalker for Superstore.
There you go.
Stalking people at night.
Yep. So that's probably my
Yeah.
consult.
We should probably.
Okay.
Continue this later.
Well, I probably won't tell the story next
The
week.
important part is we found out what he was doing for work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We got
That's
to
all
the
that
bottom of
matters.
this.
Yeah. That's really what matters.
Okay, goodness.
For those keeping score at home.
Yeah.